And there we go.
Okay. Then I won't say what I'm exhaling from to let Ken know because not everyone needs to know.
Right? It's not anybody else's business.
Mm.
Let me get the link for this. Copy link address.
So, Ken, if you want to be the interview on the next show, it's next Sunday, not tomorrow.
Right, and can't. I don't think I can do it next Sunday. I have
Okay.
something going on.
Okay.
Um, the last. Let me look at my calendar. Last the last
Well, we do
weekend
it
of
every
this
other
month.
Sunday. Uh,
Oh, you do it every other. Okay, so
every
when's the
other.
next
We
show
we
then?
have we have every Saturday we have a show. Between the two shows, we do this, which is a streamcast where anyone can join us. And then the Saturday right before the show, we just have a team meeting to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
Um,
much more free form. We just sit here and talk about crap and try and figure out what the next show is going to be about.
so just so I can mark my calendar, when is if I can't do it the 18th, then when's the next one?
Um,
Hold on, 14. No, the 21st is the next
yeah, the
show.
21st is the next show, and then after that, the 4th.
20. Oh, I'm on August. Never mind.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, 21st is the next one. I can't make that one, so then the following one will be in August
4th.
the 4th. Okay, I can
And
wait. Let me look.
then there would be a streamcast on the 22nd and a team meeting on the 3rd.
Hey, can you tap your
Yeah,
mic? Ken, can you tap your mic? Yeah, you're not getting from
yeah.
that.
No, we tried earlier a few minutes ago and we couldn't get it to work. I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand why. I have it as an option on this thing. It's showing my UMC 2202 HD, whatever. Freaking
So why did
the
Bill think you needed
line.
a Q2U? Your microphone wasn't good enough?
Well, he had mentioned that I get some background noise and it's a little bit more difficult to audio edit with my HyperX. And yeah, it does kind of pick up everything in the room. So, I said, go ahead and send me a Q2U. I was just joking around. He's like, sure, okay, I'll send you a Q2U.
He he sent me an on box, which I've been watching my TV through my. I've got a M700 Tiny for my TV machine, and that what draws up most 35 watts. But no, he had to send me an Android TV box, and so I get hooked back into Google, which I didn't want. Um,
Well, you could,
but when
D.
I plugged it in, turned on the TV, and the TV has like a 10% overscan, and I have not yet taken the time to find the setting for that to see if I can fix it.
On the TV, it's, yeah,
Yeah.
pixel. And then, yeah, I mean, you can de-Googlefy it, just use F-Droid.
Well, yeah, but everything on it goes through Google. It's basically Google. It's a Google TV only packaged and sold by Walmart.
Uh,
But somehow Bill thought that would solve a problem for me, and I didn't really have a problem that
what,
needed solving.
what problem was that?
Well, he seemed to think I didn't need to be using a computer for that, but hey, an Android TV box is still a computer.
Hey, as many computers as I have, I mean, seriously, why not use one as a TV box?
Yeah, I was using my Pi 4 as a TV box for a while, and it just wasn't that very fast. My M700 Tiny is much nicer.
Yeah, I got a couple of tablets that do like really well as TV boxes.
Mm. Yeah, I'm really messed up here because I've got a Fire tablet and I've got the Pine Tab too, and I cannot. I see the Pine Tab 2 as a laptop replacement. I see the the Fire tablet as a Nook replacement.
Mm.
Basically, I only use and they're making it harder for me to do that. They changed the interface in the past week or two so that I can't just go straight to my library.
Um, how are you liking the Pine Time?
I'm liking it. I've got it set to do. I've got it in my show notes. I did not get the phone app to work. It needed a notification permission that was ghosted and said this is turned off for your protection. You need to go blah 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 to get it changed. And I went blah blah blah, and it wouldn't change. So, but I need a watch for the time. Having my steps is a cool thing. If I ever get back into exercising, having my heart rate is a cool thing. I don't need my phone and my announcements and my text messages on my watch. I've
You
got other devices for that.
you would be surprised how helpful it is to have your messages come up on your phone so you don't have to pull your phone out of your pocket just to read the message real quick. I know some people reply using their watch. I don't do that. But okay, so
It is
somebody
a
send me something. What is it?
Joe.
Okay, I'm done.
I am autistic. I do not need several devices yammering at me over the same thing.
Well, it's not like you can get YouTube to play on this thing. That would be hilarious though.
Well, I don't know, but I don't want anything. This is a very cool watch, and it runs Linux, and I'm happy.
I'm happy that you're happy.
And at the price, it was so irresistible that Bill turned around and bought himself one.
I'll have to hear about it then.
I think it's $24.95 plus shipping for a really cool Linux running digital watch.
Yeah, but don't they charge like $20 for shipping?
No,
Okay.
it was 32 something including shipping.
Oh, okay. That's
It
okay.
took a week and a half, but
I want to order some more tips from them for my Pine Sol.
mm. So right now all I have from Pine 64 is my Pine Time and my Pine Tab 2.
All I have is the Pine Sol. Oh, and the Pine Phone.
Yeah. You have a Pine phone. Is it any good?
It's not daily use, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you want it?
No. It
It's
probably is
it's the
missing a
one
lot of.
a listener sent to me to test out on, and
Mm,
I've tested and I put it down for a while and I come back to it and I test something else and it's definitely not prime time ready.
yeah. That probably doesn't even have 4G LTE, let alone 5G.
It might have 4G, but it definitely does not have 5G because this is like the first model.
Yeah.
So
But no, I'm happy with my Pixel 7. I am starting to want to put something else on it, but you can do that with a Pixel. I was successful with the Pixel 3a XL in getting, oh, I just had it in my head. What was the Calyx OS? And that ran pretty nicely. Even my banking apps, I could find a way to get them through some app store or another, although some of those app stores weren't that secure and wanted to blast advertising at me just for using the store.
hey Moss,
Yeah.
pick a topic
Topic.
for next show.
Computer music.
It'll be you in the innards. I'm
Be
okay with
about
that.
time.
I'm
Well,
no, I'm
yeah,
okay with that.
except we would have licensing problems with anything I sang.
Well, how to make maybe short clips less than 10 seconds. I mean, you're talking about computer music, right?
Yeah.
Various different forms over the years. There's an entire community based around 8-bit music and making your own.
Well, that's not what I'm into. I'm into real analog music.
Well, you could talk about your real analog music.
Although I actually have a digital guitar now, more or less. It's an analog digital cross.
All right, I need to let my dog in. She's whining at the
Oh,
back
let your
door.
dog
So
in.
you two carry on a conversation about something interesting.
Well, I'm reading his book. That should be interesting to him.
Yeah. So you say you're into the third book now?
Yeah. Trin lost her leg and got the post stuck on it, and what's her name? The other girl lost her arm and got a really good prosthetic. I don't know why everything has to be metallic. I would say carbon fiber prosthetic would probably make more sense.
Yeah, that's one of those things where I don't know.
Everyone's a critic. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I don't overthink the tech that much. It's kind of stuff happens and we
Says the
get
guy who
there.
makes models of all the ships he writes about.
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly what every little piece in the model does either. So
It holds
this
it
one,
together.
yeah, this is bonded with testers. Yeah. Um, no, I try not to get too technical because the minute I get technical, like I don't know if you read any of the comments on the first book, Corvette, but there's a lot of guys in there like, "Oh, your measurements are way wrong. That's too many." You know, I'm like, "All right, fuck it. I'm not going to do any measurements from now on. I'm just going to say that ship is over there and it's getting closer. That's all I'm going to say." You know, and it's like, who cares? Um, but anyway, yeah,
Well,
my stuff is not as technical as some science fiction. A lot of science fiction that you read these days, especially the military science fiction, they get all off on all kinds of shit that doesn't matter. And I'm there to tell a story more than I am made up details. So
well, I'm a
yeah,
bit of a critic. I mean, I love Farscape, but there's no way that John Crichton is military.
yeah,
He has no bearing of military whatsoever.
no,
You'd think they could have picked that a little bit better, but he's a good actor. They
and
might
it's good
maybe should have
looking.
changed. They maybe should have changed the story somehow. I don't know. Anyhow, so like I'm not finding it the best stuff I've ever read, but I am finding it readable and enjoyable. So uh,
Yeah, it's not meant to be, Nobel Prize fiction. It's just fun, And if it's boring or it becomes a struggle, don't read it, right? That's my rule.
yeah,
Um,
I have actually found one author who is quite prolific, not prolific enough because I've read all of her stuff now, uh, and every book is a masterpiece. I am blown away by this, and she's just a little Mormon girl up in Utah, and
yeah.
none of what she writes has anything to do with Mormon. Well, she did write an Old West story that takes place in Utah, but the Mormons were a side story. The main character herself was not Mormon, just was friends with somebody.
Mhm.
And so she doesn't write her religion. She doesn't write her beliefs. Every book or every series has a completely different system of magic, and it's consistent internally and different from anything else she's written, and it's amazing.
Sounds like
Uh,
a Sanderson protege.
well, her name is Charlie Holmberg,
Holmberg.
and it's just amazing what she writes. She sort of apologizes to God in her afterword, saying, I must thank my heavenly Father who has allowed me to still put these crazy ideas down on paper."
Yeah.
But it's incredible stuff she's written. She doesn't write long series. I think her longest is 4 books, and most of them are only 2 or 3 books, or just a book.
Right.
She actually tried her hand at romantic fiction, which was far out of her bailiwick, and she wrote some of the coolest romantic fiction I've ever seen. It breaks a few stereotypes for romantic fiction. I mean, the lead character works in IT, and female working in IT, and for a hobby does roller derby.
That's pretty out there.
But it was an incredible book, and the sequel was incredible, featuring another of the roller derby girls.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Huh.
the series is called "The Geeks of Happy Valley."
You know what I would recommend that you read if you get tired of reading the Corvette stuff is my mystery series because it's about like the lead is a programmer. So it's very much a tech mystery. So um I absolutely love writing that series, but no one, and I mean like no one buys them. So it doesn't make sense for me. The only the only reason I write the next book of those in that series is for my son because he's a total nerd and he loves it. And he's like, Dad, when are you gonna write the next Joshua Jones book? And I'm like, total nerd and he
Well,
loves it.
I
And he's
did
like, Dad, when are you gonna
read a
write
two-book
the next
series
Joshua
of
Jones
nerd
book? And I'm
fiction.
like,
Uh, the first book was called Get, Commit, Murder.
nice. Like it.
Have you ever
Yeah.
read Bimbos of the Death Sun?
Oh yes, Bimbos of the Death Sun and the sequel,
I
Zombies of the Pain Pool.
I have not caught the sequel. I read Bimbos of the Death Sun, but I'm gonna have to look up the sequel now because I don't think it was written
I've
yet.
actually talked to the author about it. Um, uh, she is a very popular author in this neck of the woods. She was actually born in Asheville and raised mostly between Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, and Southwestern Virginia. She actually teaches literature at Virginia Tech. Uh, Sharon McCrum, excellent author. Love everything she's written. She writes a lot of mysteries. Actually, she bases her mysteries on the themes of Appalachian folk songs.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, all of my mystery books are about a programmer, and they all have programming terms for names, titles, and they all start with chapter 0. So it's kind of nerdy.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey,
Chapter
she's
0 is
writing
where
a preface.
somebody, yeah. So it was funny. I was working at a company. I just started working at a company here in Boise, an offshoot of Micron Technology, and I was like brand new there, and the boss lady came down and to introduce herself and get to know me a little bit and just talking with me, and she found out I like to write books, and she goes, "What do you write?" I said, "Well, mostly just science fiction." And she said, "Well, I don't read science fiction." I'm like, get away from me. What do you? How could you be in IT and not read science fiction?
Right?
Um,
Oh,
but she said, I read mysteries. If you wrote a mystery, I'd read it. And it was almost like she had thrown down a gauntlet. And I was like, okay, I'll write a mystery. So I said, I kind of thought to myself after she left, I was like, what would this woman want to read if it was a mystery? And I said, well, she is in IT. She may appreciate an IT mystery. So I thought up of a premise that would be like the back cover blurb of a book, and I typed it up and I sent her the premise during lunch in an email, and she literally came out of her office and down the row of cubes and said, "You've got to write that book. That's an awesome premise." And I'm like, "Okay, see what I can do." So like
Well,
a year or two later, I had it.
I will look for that. I hope it's on Kindle Unlimited.
Um, Probably it's been out forever. It's called Null Pointer.
No
and
point.
it's a pen name. The pen name is Johnny Batch, like a batch file.
Ah. Well,
So
Kindle
yeah,
Unlimited is not unlimited. It not only does not include even half of the books that they have, but
yeah.
you also can't. Between my wife and I, we're always having to remove something to get a new book because we've hit our limit. But I do read several books at a time.
I can send you the file if you want to read it because it's fun. If you
Well,
can't get it,
Let me look for it on Amazon Unlimited because you'll at least get a couple pennies for that.
yeah, it's really good. I had never written a mystery, so I had to go out and read books on mystery writing and how it's done, and then I went and read a bunch of first mystery novels from famous mystery writers just to see what they did, how they got in. Um, and I still don't. I don't read a lot of mysteries still, but I so enjoy writing these because it's not ray guns and how many parsecs and crap like that. It's all
Yeah,
stuff that you don't have to make up. It's like when you say that somebody's holding a Colt 45, everybody reading that knows what the hell that is. You
yeah.
know, so you
Well,
don't have to
I did
describe
like
it.
your use of the rail guns in your science
That's
fiction
cool.
series because that's not a ray gun. That's actually a physical projectile device.
Yeah,
Uh,
that
the problem
that's cool.
is where do you store the ammo? And the other solution is you can probably, if you've got the right equipment, make the ammo out of whatever's you got laying around.
and you just wrote the synopsis of a future novel that's in the series. So I'll say no more about that. But yes, they do get into a situation where they can't. I think it was not use the railgun, and another situation where they have to
In the first book,
rebuild
they
parts
did
of their
run out
ship.
of ammunition, and they tried to make some more. But
Yeah.
yeah, the worst part about your books so far was the first chapter of the first book, where you get us all involved in the lives and feelings of these people, and by the end of the chapter, they're all dead. If you'd had one of them survive, it would have, I think, made a little bit better book. You know,
Yeah,
have
I thought
Francis
about.
Cruz rescue the last person.
Well, that's one of the things I may just cut that whole section out when I redo it because it's not. You're right; it has nothing to do with anything, and um, that
But
was
he
an
wrote it
issue I
so
had.
well. I mean,
Oh,
I
I'm
was
sorry you were
getting all
involved.
into these characters, and then they're dead.
So I'll try not to have any spoilers in what I'm going to say in case you do read on. But the characters, some of the characters, I should say, probably none of the characters you're reading now, but a character that I introduced in the final trilogy um, when um, when Mr. Vance is of advanced age, let's say. He's
Mm.
long retired and they bring him back in to work on a civilian ship to help tutor a young captain.
So basically, Xander 2.0.
Exactly. And he's playing the Xander role now, and this kid that he's tutoring does actually survive into another book that I wrote a long time ago. Well, actually, he doesn't survive. Well, he lives his life, but he is mentioned in a book that I wrote that took place literally 1,000 years after
Mm-hmm.
what you're reading now. Um, and I have a character run across a diary that he kept about what was going on. So
Mm.
an attentive reader will be like, "Oh, I remember that Corvette series," and "Oh, I remember that captain," and then it's like, "Oh, that's what happened to him," you know. But you won't get to that until you've been all the way through the series. So it's kind of messing with people on that one. But so I always kind of knew where the Corvette series was going, and that's where those characters will find their fates because I've already know that.
Now, when you republish, the way it's published this time, it's Corvette Book 1, Corvette Book 2, Corvette Book 3. I mean, they do have a subtitle, but are you going to drop the Corvette and just make the title from the subtitle?
Yeah, the subtitle I think for the first book was just a Star Saga story or something like that because I didn't know. So when I wrote it, so here's the story about Corvette, why it got written. So my
What
series,
I'm saying here is if you say Corvette, a Star Saga story, then your next book should be its title, a Star Saga story.
right? I'll probably take out the subtitle, so it's
Hmm.
just Corvette. And actually, if there is any kind, so it's weird. Sometimes, um, a series is referred to a name, but it's never given that name,
Mm-hmm.
and it's usually the fans that give it that name. Oh, that series where XYZ happens, and then the XYZ kind of becomes known as the XYZ series. But
Yeah.
no book in that series is called XYZ. It's just something that happens in there, right? Um, so it may, I internally to me, I refer to it as the Starship series because Corvette, Destroyer, Explorer are all types of starships,
Mm-hmm.
not related to any character, but just starships. But I didn't decide that until later on because I didn't know it was going to go as long as it did. When I wrote Corvette, it was an experiment to see if I could write a book and publish it and actually have it go viral. In other words, make money. Because most of my books don't make much money.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's see if I can write a formula book that will make money and sell on Kindle only. That was and my specific audience was white male between the age of 30 and 60.
Oh, I
So
missed.
it's pretty much everybody that I know.
I
And
missed. I'm 71.
okay, well, sorry. That's why you didn't relate to him. See, you're too
I
old.
guess. Yeah.
But that so
Probably the
that
lack of teeth had something to do with it.
and there was a lot of so I did a lot of research and I followed some advice that you're not supposed to follow, which is to write to market. And I wrote that story specifically to sell books, and I used tropes that were common in that field, military science fiction. So the Xander role is a trope, old man, up against superior forces, though the crew all likes him, and that's just
Yeah.
one of the many tropes that I put in there. And I played around with the tropes a little bit, actually, but mostly I kept them pretty much what was being written at the time and selling on Kindle. It's not something I would have out of pocket written. It's just see if I can make it sell. And
One of my favorite authors, Roger Zelazny, had 3 superior books out and had not made a sale. I mean,
yeah,
he'd won the Hugo Awards, but he couldn't sell the books.
yeah,
And he had these really rich characters with rich backgrounds, and everything flowed so beautifully and it was perfect. The main problem is he couldn't write a long book.
mm,
He crammed so much into, like, I think it was 180 pages for his first novel, and that novel tied for the Hugo Award with Dune.
nice,
But he couldn't sell. So
yeah.
finally, he just said, "Screw this! I'm going to take one of my massive characters and just run him across a cardboard backdrop," and everyone bought it. Chronicles of Amber.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, lo and behold, Corvette did take off. It did really well. It did way better than anything else I did. Um,
Mhm.
and it's because the SIFWA organization has changed their rules so that they're allowing non-traditionally published authors
Mhm.
to join.
If you
It
sold
co
enough.
if you sold enough. Well, this book kind of almost double sold what it should have to qualify for
Woohoo.
that. So I got in to SIFWA with that book, and that was just like I was just like sitting back going, "What the hell just happened? Why, why, why is this working so well?" I mean, traditional advice was like, "Don't do that," but I did it, and I made a lot of money. So then I was like, now I'm stuck with a kind of right where I was when I first started publishing. Is a book came out, had a little bit of success, and because I had no other books, everybody forgot about me after 2 or 3 months, and then
Yeah.
it was hard to come back. So Corvette was kind of like in the same boat with that.
Hey, Majid. You're outside, Majid.
Hi guys,
I
I thought I'd just put in a quick appearance because I've just
we see
What's
it.
our topic, Majid?
say that again. Sorry,
What's our topic?
I don't know, and I've just remembered. Well, not remembered. I remembered earlier today that I'm not going to be at the next show because I'm away that weekend. Um, so what? Hi Ken, how you doing?
I good.
Yeah, maybe Ken can be our topic.
No, Ken can't make that show either.
Sorry.
All right, okay then. Uh,
I tried.
I'm just trying to think. What else we could do? What would be good?
Well, you're the only one here with a doctorate, so your brain should be solid enough for us.
Assalamualaikum, you okay? I walk around and I run into people I know around here, man.
I
Sorry,
mean,
I'm
unless
just
you've been.
I'm just out. Hmm. hmm.
Hey, Joe, we could just do a Pine 64 show.
I'm not going to have much to talk about other than the
Well,
pine sol.
you've got a Pine Sol and a Pine phone that you tried,
Yeah,
and
but
I've got
I've
my
talked
Pine
about
Time and my Pine Tab.
I've talked about the pine sol already, or not the pine sol,
Well,
the pine
Okay.
phone.
they've forgotten about it. Do it again.
What about you? I don't know if we've done this before. Using a Raspberry Pi as a server.
We may have, but things change. I don't know who has a Pi 5. I mean, we could talk about Pi 4s.
I can't even
I've
find my Pi 4. All I can find is my Pi 3.
I've gone extensively into, well, in my biweeklies on the various Well, even
Yeah, you have actually.
yeah, and I have done the innards on the the pie hole and the wire guard that I put on to various devices, including the Raspberry Pis, and that's been recent. So I don't know if that would
Yeah.
be a good one.
Yeah, fair
Well,
point. Fair point.
on the
Fair point.
Pine 64 idea, Bill has at least one rock chip SBC, so we've got the range covered.
Do we want to talk about SBCs and
Well, I'm saying we could just do a Pine 64 show. We have a little bit on the Pine Time, a little bit on the Pine Tab, a little bit on the Pine Phone, and a little bit on the Rock 64.
okay, well, let's do Pine 64 because yeah, I love talking about my Pine Sill, and I can vaguely mention the Pine Phone and its not being ready for prime time, and then we can also, if we need to extend it some, talk about other boards, essentially other SBCs.
Like a plan? Sounds like a plan.
Or we could talk about other Pine products that we don't have.
Or we could talk about other Pine products that we don't have. That's fine too. We'll put the list there. We won't be sponsored by Pine, but everybody will think we
No.
are.
Everybody will.
Yeah.
Well, it's the only show we've done on Pine, so.
Okay.
No, but I think Joe's idea is a good one. And to be fair, it would probably fill a whole innards before we even get into all the other things.
So this
I-
is this
I'm-
is
I'm
Moss's
unfortunate-
idea.
Yeah, no, it's Moss's idea. I'm
Budget.
just saying. Oh, you got a smartwatch.
That's Pine Time.
Oh, okay. We can talk about you can talk about our Pine ecosystem then, can't you?
That's
Well,
what he wants to talk about.
Yeah, I've got the Pine Time and I've got the Pine Tab too. Joe has a Pine Phone that he's found out isn't very usable, and he's also got the Pine Sill that he uses all the time.
I'd offer to send it to you, so
And
you could
Bill's got
test
a
it out,
Rock
Majid. But I am not paying that kind of shipping.
No, don't. And plus, I said I'm not even going to be on the next one anyway.
Well,
I realized earlier today that I was going to be away.
No,
I'm away that weekend.
A listener sent.
Tony sent me his the SBC 2. What we were talking? Come on, my brain has gone.
Pine Tap 2.
Not the Pine Tab.
Lighting.
You got the Raspberry Pi. Tony sent me a Raspberry Pi 2 by handing it off to someone from America at a conference in UK. That person turns out to be George, who runs the Tech Plus Coffee forums all over the place. Yeah, that was a good way to save postage. He just basically handed it to George, and George mailed it when he got back to Florida.
Yeah, that's a good one.
No, see, a listener sent me that the Pine Phone. It was one of the first ones that came out, and I should be sending it on to someone else on the team when I'm done with it. And I've been done with it now for a while, but I offer to send it to people, and they're like, "No, I'm good." So it's still here.
Well, I'm good for phones, so, and I understand that it's not ready for prime time, and I need if I'm going to use a phone, I need to use one that's usable.
I get that.
I just think it's cool that I have a watch that runs Linux. I don't care that I don't use all the features. It does what I need, and it runs Linux. So where exactly are you, Majid?
Oh, I just
He's out
went
having
out
a
to the
smoke
mosque.
in the parking lot.
No.
A
Although, to
doctor
be fair, I
having
do
a smoke.
smoke I do smoke in my car. To be fair, so it's not actually not that bad an answer, but not this time. No. I've just coming back from the mosque.
Nah,
It's been it's been emotional couple of days. I think I mentioned it on. I don't know if I mentioned it in our group, but it was on the OTC group anyway. An aunt of mine passed away, and so
Sorry.
I mean, she was
sympathies.
unwell in the sense of she was in her 80s, and you know, that kind of slow deterioration that people get in their mid-80s, you know, she become, her mobility had decreased. I mean, mentally she was there, she's a little bit forgetful, but I mean, she was fine. But and so, to be honest, when I got a random phone call from India, I thought at a random time, I thought, shit, this is going to be bad news. And so, I mean, the biggest thing was, how are we going to tell my mom? Because it was her. My mom is like the youngest of 6, and there were 4 sisters, and this was the last surviving sister. And so, yeah, so it was like, okay, fine. You know, we're gonna have to. Me and my sister were like, okay, we're gonna have to kind of plan, sit her down, and this, that, and the other. You know, and you know, explain to her and stuff. And so, obviously, you know, it's been upsetting last day or two, and just doing some prayers and stuff for her and stuff. And you know, it's even when you know it's a fact of life. Even, you know, unfortunately, I'm surrounded by death in the hospital. Still doesn't change it when it's, you know, your own family. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah. Well, when you get to
So
be my age, you spend a lot more time at funerals than you do at weddings and graduations.
yes, yeah, and
I see
that's the
we've
other
gotten a
thing I
little
realized.
more international. Respawn showed up. He hasn't said anything yet.
Good evening.
Hello.
Evening, mate. Yeah. So anyway, so I was just I was just leaving there, and you know, this area, you know, it's like I grew up around this area, so you know, literally I walk down and I see people and they're going, hi doctor. That everybody's just. I often wonder if people forgot my name. They just remember me as the doctor. I don't know.
You just need to carry some anesthesia with you and give everyone a hit as they go by.
Oh man, I'd be very rich if I did that. I'd be very rich.
Overcoat
Okay.
all the way. Wearing a white
Are you doing
overcoat
Respawn? You okay?
in the public.
Yeah, how you doing, Respawn? You okay?
Yeah, just surviving the heats here.
I hear you.
What's the temperature like there?
It was 94 Fahrenheit today.
Okay. Yeah, see, I have to convert that backwards.
Yeah, I think today
Okay,
I think today we only got up to 96, but it was like 80% humidity, which always drives me nuts.
Yeah. Summer has decided to not turn up in Britain.
You're lucky.
Yeah. Well, it's what the temperature's like 65. Do you know what I mean?
Nice. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, I don't mind too much. Yeah, you're right. It's better than being bloody in the 90s and stuff. But it'd be nice to have some nice days. But then
Well,
I'm in the wrong country. For that, really.
Don't people start dying when it gets up to like 80?
Look, this country falls apart when it hits 75.
That's what I'm
Right?
saying.
That's what I'll.
Look, I barely have to turn the air conditioner on at 80.
You know, there's that thing about being master of all trades. Sorry, jack of all trades and master of none, right? Well, we're a jack of no trades and master of none as well. When the weather's too hot, you know, the roads melt. When the weather's too cold, you know, the trains stop because the lines are frozen. When it's too windy, you know, the electricity goes down because the pylons go down. When it rains, it floods. But then we have hosepipe bans in the summer because it's been too dry and it hasn't rained for 3 months. And you're just like, this country is just not suited
Can't
for
plan
anything.
for anything.
Just remember, England was seen as a paradise by the Romans.
Well, yes, that I'd like to point out that was 2,000 years ago.
And it just hasn't improved any since.
I mean, you know, the situation, what the situation was like 2,000 years ago is probably not.
I mean, those radical Christians that wrote all the where the English were actually the remnant of the 10 lost tribes, and they wrote all these gorgeous hymns.
That theory.
Yeah,
That
England's
theory.
green and
British
pleasant
Israelism.
land. Yes, indeed. That was only written in the 1800s. So.
Yeah, Jerusalem. The England cricket team come out to that instead of the national anthem. Because it's become because remember that
song.
Oh God, it gets it. Well, I mean, so is God Save the King. Has anybody ever read the second verse of God Save the King? About how the king is the hammer of the Scots?
It's like the third verse of Star Spangled Banner, where they're talking about bringing back captured slaves.
Yes, I heard about that actually. Yeah. So no, because technically speaking, England doesn't have a separate national anthem to the United Kingdom. United Kingdom has God Save the King, but the other constituent countries like Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland have their own anthems. So the Scottish have like the Flower of Scotland, the Welsh have Land of My Fathers. I can't remember what the Irish one is, Northern Irish one. But yeah, so the
Probably
English
can't understand
technically
the
don't.
accent anyhow.
So the English technically they just use the United Kingdom anthem. But once in a while you have a sport where England and Scotland will be on separate sides or whatever, and so then they sing Jerusalem, that hymn.
Oh my god, that is such a sad song. I mean, really, we don't have anything to brag about, so we're going to claim to be the descendants of someone that we're not even remotely related to, just so we can feel
Yeah,
superior to everyone else.
yeah. So Moss, that's called nationalism. You'll find that it's a worldwide problem.
Oh yes.
Well, I'm grateful
I'm
for all
glad.
the Independence Days that you guys have provided.
It is a beautiful
You know
song,
what?
you got to admit.
There was a thing. What was it? That there is 60. There's one holiday which is shared between 62 different countries, and that is the independence
Day.
from Britain.
Yeah.
It is the world's most common holiday, apparently. Outside of Christmas.
That's funny.
So yeah, irony, irony. So and anyway, tomorrow is going to be the most nationalist day in England for the last how many years, because it's the soccer final, and it's England versus Spain, and England weren't expected to get all the way to the final, and England haven't won a major
that was a
tournament
late
since
substitution that
1966.
got them into it.
Oh man, flipping hell, that goal! Oh man, what a goal! Seriously, it caught everybody by surprise.
Next thing you
none
know,
of us were expecting it. We were thinking,
next thing you know, he's going to be talking about cricket.
well, it's not my fault that you guys.
No, the cricket matches
don't
are
have
over,
any
Joe.
proper sports. It's not my fault you haven't got any proper sports in your country. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know how many countries play
mean,
baseball
baseball.
now and hockey?
But England is
5?
not one of them, even though it's based
5?
on round.
How many
6?
countries play hockey?
Okay, hockey is a lot. All right, fine. Hockey is a lot. I'll take that one. I'll give you that one.
It's
But
almost
baseball,
a minor sport here
is
in
it
the
about
US,
6?
though. Well, all the Caribbean countries and Mexico, Japan, Korea. That's more than 6 right there.
Okay, fine. How many countries are there in the world again?
More than
Who
2?
knows? 192, I think, something like that.
Yeah. Just saying. Do the maths. But anyway.
Well, if you guys had grow up, I mean, American football is actually premised on rugby. American baseball is premised on rounders, which was a popular English sport at one time.
Yeah, it was. We all learned that rounders at school actually, and that's the joke, that baseball is just rounders. That's why we can't take it seriously, because we all played it when we were at primary school, elementary
the
school.
Russian version of baseball, called baseball,
was that involve nuclear weapons and invading Ukraine?
No.
It does now.
Baseball only has 2 bases. There's home base and there's basically where second base is. And
So you have to go through the pitcher?
is live. There's no such thing as a foul ball in baseball. They basically put the batter's box a little bit more center to the stadium, closer to where the pitcher's mound is, and every hit is live. But you still have to get a longer distance to the base and then the longer distance back to home. How do I know these things? What can I say?
Okay, here's a question for you guys. Has anybody had a official Microsoft Surface and put Linux on it?
No, but I
Not
know
me.
people that have.
Okay. Is it
Why would I buy a Microsoft product?
Well, yeah, it's true, but you know the hardware is supposed to be good.
Yes.
And I've never bought a Microsoft product before, and I'm not gonna drop how many 1,500 or whatever it is on one of the new Snapdragon Elite ones,
Well,
because
Mm.
you know that.
it
So I was looking around and I saw that there's some reasonable ones on eBay a couple of years old. So
yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
but um you need to do your research on how to put Linux on it because it does require, well, it used to require custom kernel. I don't know if it still does. And then a whole bunch of work to get everything working correctly. And then the
Yeah,
newer the model is, the less likely that you're going to have a completely working system.
yeah. So I mean, the ones I was looking at were like the Surface Pro, or which one? Which one would it be? 7. You know,
Yeah.
that would be what? That would be like what 10th gen Intel, that kind of thing.
Do your
Um,
research before dropping a
yeah,
hammer on that. But honestly, you're
yeah,
better off just going with like the Dell Latitude tablet. I mean, that's really good hardware, and Eric will tell
yeah.
you the
True.
same thing. And you can get it
Oh
at
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've
lower
been listening to
cost. Yeah,
yeah. I was listening to Distro Hopper's Digest. It's a 2-hour episode. Has anybody noticed that? It's the first. It's the first
I
time it's
guess
hit 2 hours, and it didn't have Moss.
we have completely jettisoned Tony. Tony could not come back to the show if he wanted to because he can't sit there for 2 hours. We were keeping our shows half hour to 45 minutes when it was just me and Tony.
Yeah.
We
So
got
I was.
Dale on
But
and
anyway,
we were
yes,
going over an hour.
I heard that. But yeah, the Dell Latitude is an option. Yeah, fair point. You've got a couple of them, haven't you,
yeah,
Joe?
I have two,
Yeah, and I know Eric's got the one.
and then I have
And oh
two
yeah,
of the Dell Venues.
yes. Have anybody
Maybe
tried out the new Mint beta?
no,
Nope,
not since it wiped out my backup drive. Nope.
I don't usually do the
I've
betas.
tried it. No, I know we don't. I'm just asking if
No,
anybody
I
let it go.
don't.
I just I had a play around with the live image on my Bentoy stick and seemed perfectly fine. Nothing exciting, but then that's Mint in general, isn't it? It's never supposed to be exciting.
Well, I still don't understand how when I told it to write to SDA4 that it wrote to SDE instead.
Magic.
Well,
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that a Linux system did something weird? Shocked, I tell you, shocked I am
Mint.
to hear that.
Mint does not do
Look,
weird things.
There's a reason I tend to disconnect all the other hard drives before I
definitely
install
should
a new
have.
system.
And there's a reason it's a beta, Moss, to be fair.
Well, I was going to replace KDE Neon on my desktop, and instead it replaced my backup. And then wouldn't boot because it was still looking for it on SDA4.
Mm. I'm quite enjoying Zorin, actually.
Yeah,
Works quite well.
Zorin's okay, but it doesn't have anything to speak of special. I mean, it's not like Farron or Neon where you've actually got something different going on. My problem with Zorin is almost every time I installed it, some 2 to 3 weeks later, it would boot to a complete black screen, and I'm told that there's a way to fix that, but it shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Okay, well, it hasn't happened to me, thankfully. But okay, cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I've got Mint, Bodhi, and Neon on my desktop, and I've got Mint, Bodhi, and Farron on my laptop.
Farron, has he put out a new release of Farron?
Not yet. Still 2204. When you've got a small team, and that in his case, one person, and the case of Bodhi, it takes close to 2 years to get a new version of Bodhi out. We've had some versions in beta that we just never got back to advance to the full form before we had to stop work and get to work on the next version of the main distro. Devotee is still in beta, but it's a third beta, and it runs just like a regular distro. I was happy with it while I was using it. But I'm still waiting for them to at least release Devotee and the 32-bit version 7, get it out of beta, get people to use it. But now they
Well,
have to start
gentlemen, as
working
you've
on the
probably
internet.
gathered, I'm driving, so
You're
I
driving.
suppose I
Get off
shouldn't.
the phone.
Yeah, so I better get off the phone. Exactly. So yeah, as I said, sorry I won't be there next time, but hope it all goes well. And
Okay.
I'll catch you guys. I'll catch you guys when I see you.
We'll try to get along without you.
Don't breathe any inert
As-
gases.
I'm sure. I'm sure you will. I'm sure you'll be. I'm sure it'll be fantastic without me. In fact, and make me jealous as to how professional and
Well, at
great you
least
guys
we
are.
know that you won't be taking all the news stories and hosting the show this time.
You know, this is the thing, right? You get cussed when you do nothing, and you get cussed when you do stuff as well. So it's
Look,
like you can never
look,
win, can you?
we're
Justin, I
gonna
do
give
nothing.
Being,
we're
it's
gonna
like
give you
being
crap.
married.
We're gonna give you crap no matter what
Yeah.
you do. It just
Well, exactly. Evidently.
it's like going out
It's
to the
part
pub.
of the camaraderie around here.
Look,
Get used to it.
You go out to the pub and the other boys are gonna mess with you. That it's just the way
Yeah,
it is.
exactly. That's it. Yeah, it is. It is. It is the way it is.
If
It is
they
the way it
didn't
is.
talk
Anyway,
crap to
have a
you,
good
that
day.
would mean they didn't like you.
Ole,
Very
ole,
true.
ole, ole.
Yeah. Anyway, have a good evening, chaps.
Yeah.
You
Talk
too.
to you later.
All right. See you, Majid. So, we have been talking and talking and talking, and poor Respawn hasn't gotten to say hardly anything.
Sorry about that, Respawn.
Maybe he went away. Who knows?
Well, he's muted and deafened.
Ah. Well, anyhow. Respawn is... Where is he? Croatia? He's somewhere in Eastern Europe. We have a very international following, I'm very proud to say.
That's my ancestry is Croatian.
Majid is Indian, although he's from Muslim Indian group, as opposed to a Hindu Indian group, and as opposed to a Pakistani who is Indian blood, but they still don't claim it. He is definitely Indian.
And he's living in London?
Yes. Well, near London. He's an anesthetist.
Nice.
Nice guy. Really nice guy. We're glad we found him.
He's a professional drug dealer.
Yeah.
Gas
Lay back,
dealer.
breathe deep and enjoy this.
He's not quite a pharmacist, but he is still a drug dealer. Limited by location.
I tell you, that stuff that Dennis put in my mouth last Monday lasted 5 or 6 hours. Like, man, dude.
Well, dentists aren't putting anything else in my mouth. They've taken all they can take.
Nice.
Yeah.
I do, when I'm on the show or doing my other podcasts, I do put my uppers in because I enunciate a little bit better with them.
Well, they could give you the magnetic things, drill that into the roof of your mouth, and then you just pop
Well,
it in
they
there.
said-
No more glue.
The reason they didn't do anything like that is because the bone density in my jaw, they said, was not sufficient to hold it.
Just have them drill it straight into your brain.
But Joe, that'd make me better.
It might make you sane. I don't know about better.
No. Nothing can make me sane.
Oh, you know what I started watching? A new series. I'm looking for a reason to keep my Apple Plus because I don't use it much, but I found a new series that they're running. It's called what's it called? Sunny. It takes place in Japan, and it's about this American woman that moved there probably a decade ago, and just to get away from shit because she didn't like people. So she figured she went someplace she couldn't speak the language, they would leave her alone. and wound up falling in love with a Japanese guy. They had a kid together, got married, etc. And she thought he worked on dishwashers. She thought, or no, refrigerators. She thought he made refrigerators. And then one day she puts them both on an airplane, and they go away. And that's the last she sees them because the airplane crashes. And a company rep shows up at her doorstep with this box, and they said that, you know, your husband wanted you to have this, and we want you to have it too, as a token of our sorrow and appreciation for your husband's work and all that. And she said, okay. And he opens it up, and it's a home robot called Sunny, and she hates robots. And so it's kind of depressing because she's mourning her family, and it's also hilarious because she's cursing at this robot that's like cheery beyond, you know, think like Disney robot, right? And it's just hilarious. I'm sitting there, I can't stop watching it now. I thought the whole series was out, but apparently it's only on the third episode, so I gotta wait every week now. But it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Well, okay, you're on Disney, so you should check out. I don't know if you've seen it yet or not. It's called See. SEE. It's about post-apocalyptic Earth where everybody's blind except for a couple of people's children, and yeah, it's actually 3 seasons. Jason Momoa. It's actually really good. It's over now.
Wow.
I'll have to check it out. I like Momoa. He's pretty good.
Unless you put it on your server, I'm not going to be watching
It
that.
is on my server.
Okay. Yeah, I have gotten to the point where, while I have offered to pay Joe for the use of his server, he keeps declining. And the only thing that we're paying for actually is Amazon Prime, because we get that with our Amazon Prime.
Yeah, but now they put ads in that crap.
It's true, but if you're watching it on your computer, your ad
uBlock
blocker
Origin
will catch
blocks
all
it.
those. Yeah, well, we're actually finding on some shows it blocks the video but not the audio. But that's still an improvement.
It blocks the video for the ad, but not the audio
Yeah.
for the ad.
Yeah.
That's a little
You have a
weird.
black screen and you're hearing it, and there's a little timer saying how long this ad is, winding down.
Cool.
So you can mute it and just watch the timer and then unmute it when it comes back.
It's almost time
But
to
yeah,
dye the beard again.
It depends on what service you're on. Sometimes it blocks the entire ad, and there's just a little blip and the show starts up again. I know on Tubi, we don't get any advertising, and the blip is usually like 2 seconds into the next segment of the show. You know, you start getting the next segment and a blip, and then comes back.
Tubi's kind of awesome. I'm not going to deny that. Especially, Plex has a lot of problems parsing all the different Doctor Who episodes from the original run, from 1963 to 1996.
Was
So
it Hartnell in the 50s?
no, 1963 would have been either 1962 or 1963 would have been William Hartnell.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought that was more the Pertwee period.
No,
Well, I don't know everything. I'm not a
that would have
big expert on
been
the Doctor.
Pertwee would have been 60, almost 70. Would have been 1970.
So did Hartnell do those off-canon Doctor Who movies?
Oh wait, no.
or-
Yeah, Pertwee did. No, Hartnell did not do the movies. That was it Cushing?
Cushing, yes.
Yeah.
Peter Cushing. But in those movies, he not only had been married, but his daughter and granddaughter are with him, and his daughter's fiance. Especially the first Dalek movie was one of those.
Yeah, but those are considered to be non-canon now. So
I understand.
and it's weird because now in the current run they're saying that the doctor, yes, has a granddaughter, had a granddaughter. All the Time Lords other than him are dead. Blah blah blah. Might be returned now because of some crazy crap that happened, again for the third time. But he technically, while he knows his granddaughter, he doesn't know his kids.
Do you have that on your Plex server?
What, the new Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I might get Suzanne to start watching. We're getting to have a longer list of shows that we're watching.
Yeah, from 2005 to present. But because of like the different specials and things, some of the parsing on that isn't quite correct either.
Yeah. Well, some of the comic book shows I watch and then sometimes they turn me off. I think I got turned off on the Arrowverse when
Echo? No. Arrowverse.
what was his name? The group. Something future.
The Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, Legends of Tomorrow. That one they did a Christmas episode and it was just totally bogus. And I just could not see how they're doing a totally mainstream Protestant Christmas episode. They didn't do that in the comics. They try and stay agnostic to religions in most of the other comic movies.
I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, Star Wars Christmas special is a different thing, but that's because everyone knew it was bogus in the first place.
I tried to get into Legends of Tomorrow mostly because I know later on, like at first I tried to get into it because it was a continuation of the Arrowverse, and then it kind of sucked, and then later on I wanted to get back into it, but really couldn't do it when they brought Constantine back in, because I really enjoyed the one season that they did of Constantine and was really hoping for more. And then he did the animated movies. It's the same guy, and then he came back for Legends, and then
we are getting a new season of Sandman.
Good. Finally, took long enough.
Although Neil is turning into a bit of a odd character because people are finding out about his weird sex life.
Weird sex life?
Apparently it was consensual, but he is into sex that causes the most amount of pain and no safe words.
What, causes himself pain or others pain?
Others for the most part.
Oh, okay.
Extremely rough sex, and he has all of a sudden become less of a persona grata.
As long as the other person is consenting, it's not. It's really.
Some of them are suing him, but they could not claim it was non-consensual. But there were no safe words. There was no way to say you're hurting me too much. Please stop.
Oh, well, that's messed up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's still a tough call because what two consenting adults do, it's not any of my business.
Well, yeah, but when one of them stops consenting and is not heard, that's a problem.
That's a different thing, because then it's not consensual at that point. Ugh.
Well, it's really hard to draw the line about when it stops being consensual.
As soon as one person,
the idea of
right,
the sex is
right.
the pain.
So if a person can't say no. No, I would do the easy thing and never put myself in that situation.
Yeah. So apparently Neil is an odd bird in that area.
But
wow, that's the first I heard that.
Some of his books are kind of interesting. It's better than Piers Anthony. That's all I gotta say.
I still hope they do a fourth and final season of American Gods, because they added so much to the show that was totally unnecessary. And they haven't gotten to the end. They have it all set up for the end, and then the show gets canceled after 3 seasons.
I still haven't watched the second season of Good Omens, and the first season was super good and followed the book really well. And I have no idea how they would continue on. And
it was wonderful. You should watch it.
I will eventually.
And there's going to be a third.
Okay. Okay.
By the end of the second season, Aziraphale and Crowley have actually acknowledged the fact that they are in a relationship.
That's good.
And then Aziraphale is called up to replace Michael. And they're
That
ripped apart again.
that seems odd that he would be called up to replace Michael.
Well, if you saw how Michael was in the second season, it wouldn't seem odd. Michael was
Okay.
totally out of it. He totally sent his spirit somewhere else, and he's just as happy-go-lucky. Oh, am I supposed to know that? You need to watch it. It's superb,
I
but
will.
it's also disturbing in its own way. You know.
Lots of things are. But like I said, at least he's not Piers Anthony.
All right, what's your problem with Piers Anthony? I've heard so many people with so many different problems with Piers Anthony. So
I
aren't you glad
swear,
we're not ripping your fiction apart
no,
like this, Ken?
all of his book series, other than the Xanth series, which might have some undertones of it here and there, have at least one instance of pedophilia.
Ah,
At least one instance. Some of his series, it's riddled throughout the whole thing, and it's making excuses on why this is okay throughout the whole thing. Some of it pretty extreme pedophilia. Okay?
mm-hmm.
So, hard pass for me. And he does write children's books. The only book of his that I can think of that didn't have it was his rendition of Total Recall, which was based on the movie, and did slightly expand it. I mean, even his books, Tatham Mound, which was about Native Americans, had some very borderline instances of it. And then his series, The Immortals, that was bad, especially the last book in the series. But and then what was it? Something Space Tyrant. How to be a Space Tyrant or something? Oh no, that's not it.
Well,
Bio of a Space Tyrant. That there was some really bad instances of it in that.
whatever Piers Anthony I have read was way back in my youth, so I don't really remember anything other than the fact I've certainly read some Piers Anthony.
Well,
Fans was so uneven from book to book because
yeah.
it's like his fans kept trying to convince him that the jokes were not the main part of the book, and they were. And the books did not work without the humor.
Right. The puns. And he even, got puns from fans, and he did take ideas from fans because they would, provide fixes to certain issues that he caused in his writings and things like that. So he did that well. It's just, like I said, it's just that one thing about his books that really bothers me. And I didn't notice it much when I was like really, really young. But as I got older and, had kids, it's definitely something that stuck out in my head.
I don't think I've ever read any of his stuff.
So, Ken, you're up in Idaho?
Yes, sir.
Where white people can be white people.
Yeah, it's so white. It's currently 98 degrees, but I don't believe that. I think it's closer to 100. I think my weather app's a little busted. Let's see. Yeah, it's 101. This is our 6th day in a row of over 100. It used to be that a summer here would be, you'd get 2 or 3 days, maybe 4 days in a stretch of 100 degrees, and everybody just kind of grinned and bared it. And, it'll be over in a few days. And now it's like close to a month of it. Yeah, there's no global warming.
Yeah, right.
But
well,
it's
I remember
bad.
my grandmother lived in Yakima, Washington, and when we go up there, it was hotter than blazes up there. We, of course, never went during the summer.
Yeah. Well, the only good thing is we don't have the humidity. So it's I mean, quote aliens. It's a dry heat, man. For sure. It's a little more tolerable, but it'll still get you if you're not drinking water and applying sunscreen. But this morning, I was at the fairgrounds because my son was driving motocross for the first time. So we watched him for a while, and it was already getting to be in close to the 90s, and we only stayed for like 20 minutes or so. They're like, we're gone. Sorry. Have fun with that. Too hot. And now we've got a fire going on the border with Oregon, so we got all the smoke and crap in the valley now, so
Yeah.
it's fun.
Well, it's
Stay inside.
98 here, and that's high for here.
Yeah.
That is to say, I just looked up Weather Underground, and it's 98 in Knoxville, and while I'm about a half hour outside of Knoxville, it's still close enough.
But you got humidity there too, don't you?
We do.
Yeah. I'm done with that. I spent a lot of time in Florida. That's enough. And the Midwest. I'm slightly distracted here with my phone because my cap squadron is getting inspected by the Air Force, and they're asking for all these things that we never knew they were going to ask us for. So we're jumping through our skins trying to find out how to make them happy. At least I'm not the commander anymore. I duly appreciate that.
Oh, incidentally, we have a cabin preserved here. The cabin itself is preserved, although it's not on its original property. But it's known as the Janeway cabin. And I'm going, gee, I did not know Catherine Janeway was from Blaine, Tennessee.
Right?
I mean, Kirk was from Iowa.
Yeah,
so.
Kirk was from Iowa.
I've actually been to his hometown because I was born in Iowa too. It doesn't look any different than my hometown. So
We're at in
Joe, were you
Iowa.
born there or just raised there?
I just graduated from high school there. That's all.
I was born in Nevada, not Nevada, Nevada.
Nevada, okay.
I spent most of my time in northwest Iowa between Mallard, Iowa. You wouldn't probably have heard of it. It's a really small town. And Tatanka. Yeah, because I've said it. So what's that? Emmitsburg.
Because you almost got us set up to move into your dad's old house.
Yeah, and that house doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
so,
understood.
Emmitsburg, Okoboji, Fort Dodge, Algona. Trying to think of anything else in that area. If you don't know Fort Dodge, then you're not going to know anything near there, except for like Omaha.
Omaha.
Yeah, Omaha's a couple hours away.
Yeah, that was a quote from Convoy.
Oh man, that's
asking
back.
the guy, what's your 20? And Omaha. Yeah, well, I spent a large chunk of my young adult life in Colorado, so yeah.
Nice.
I hated growing up in Los Angeles. I had my parents send me to school in central Kansas. School no one's heard of, trust me. I went from there to my first real job in Browns Mills, New Jersey. That job didn't work out because the president of the company loved me and wanted to make me his personal secretary, and the vice president, who was his wife, wanted me to do the most menial jobs available. And so I wound up doing another job and then eventually moving to Denver over something else just to get out of New Jersey, I guess. So I spent probably 12 years in Denver, a year in Grand Junction, a year and a half, maybe 2 years in Colorado Springs before leaving for the Detroit area, which was
You've been
really
all over.
nice. I have been. I've lived in 9 states, and I have been through at least 38, as well as 3 Canadian provinces and 2 states of Mexico, but one of those states I don't remember.
State of
I was too
unconscious.
young.
I don't know. I haven't counted. It's been a
I've
couple.
lived in all the I states.
All the I states.
Yeah.
Idaho, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana.
Yep.
Did I miss one?
Nope. I also lived in California, Florida. Yeah, California and Florida. So those are the only. I've never lived on the East Coast up high, and I've never lived like down west, like in Arizona, New Mexico.
I have not been to New England except for Connecticut. We got within a couple miles of Rhode Island, and that was it. I have not been to the upper Midwest, Montana, the Dakotas, Minnesota. Otherwise, I've been in all the lower 48. I have not been to Hawaii or Alaska.
I've been to both.
I've been to Alaska.
Yeah.
My parents sent me off to college in Kansas, and then they took a trip to Hawaii.
I didn't take a trip to Alaska, but I've been to Alaska.
So overland?
No, I was born there, so.
Oh, there you go.
I didn't take a trip to Alaska. I took a trip from Alaska.
But you left Alaska.
Yes.
Gotcha. You might be one of the first natives I've ever met from Alaska.
And
Well,
he doesn't live there now, yeah.
Look, I was born there, but my parents aren't from there.
Nonetheless, that makes you a native, not your parents.
I mean, my mom was born in Indiana. My dad was born in Ethiopia. His dad, I'm pretty sure, was born in Indiana, but
Well, I'm third generation Californian on my mother's side. And I don't know why, because I hate it there. Never did. It's just everything's all packed together. The only way you can tell you change towns is the architecture changes slightly.
I don't remember living there. I was a little kid. I was like only there for 3 or 4 years as under 9. I don't remember.
Yeah, I left there after high school, so 17. I've been back 3 times for a visit, maybe 3 times. The last time was for my father's funeral.
I need to go up to Iowa.
They didn't even send me there for my mother's funeral.
I need to go to Iowa and visit my foster parents.
Mm.
It's been a while.
I don't care to go back to Iowa, but I know I'm gonna have to go back to Iowa when my mother dies because she is not gonna be buried in Arizona.
I wouldn't want to be buried in Arizona either.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hopefully not going to be buried if my wife pays attention to what I would really like to have happen to my prostrate and bleeding and dead body. Oh, come on, this stupid. Oh man.
You want turned into a tree, don't you?
Well, that'd be
Be
nice.
the tree.
But not. There is a system that is starting to be used in some countries. It has all the advantages of cremation and none of the disadvantages, which is you don't have all those minerals going up the smokestack and polluting the earth. Basically, they freeze you with liquid nitrogen, then they suck off the liquid nitrogen and shake the body into powder. It's called promession.
And then when you thaw, you're a bloody mess. I like this.
No, when you thaw, it's freeze dried.
I want that done to me, but then I want sprinkled over Disney from 1,000 feet, a couple thousand feet.
That's funny.
Well,
in the middle of the day.
I always said that there are a few temples in South India that I have donated towards their reconstruction. little rural temples that they didn't have enough money to even pay their priest, let alone keep the building from crumbling down. And a friend of mine in Chennai started arranging to get some of these temples rebuilt, and I've donated towards them. And I kind of would like to have some part of my cremains to be uh, deposited near one of those temples that I helped rebuild. I think I paid in on 3 of them. Melpapampati, um, anyhow, I've got a listing of them somewhere. That Kalpundi is the first one I did. And yes, there is a temple roster somewhere. I think at Melpapampati, they actually listed me on a donor as Sri Moss Bliss. So I am holy and sanctified.
Nice. My name's on a spaceship somewhere on Mars. Not a piece of me, but my name. So.
Yeah. So I don't know. My parents have a burial plot for me, but I think they knew full well and good that I'm not interested in being buried there.
Yeah.
I
don't
wasn't
actually
made to feel
care.
welcome when I was living there. Why would I want to feel like it was home for me when I'm dead? Yeah. My parents did their best. They did. They didn't have a clue what was going on with me. They kept asking questions from whoever they could get to hold still. I got tired of hearing them ask, "What's wrong with little Jerry?" And I'm going, "Well, what's wrong with him is you're not listening to him." Yeah, but I told my doctors when I was 12 that I was autistic, and they did not believe me. "Oh no, you're too smart for that." Well, what's that got to do with anything? I didn't actually get the diagnosis until I was 51.
Wow.
And that was from me showing them charts of tests I had taken on autism. And they said, "Well, oh, yeah, I guess maybe you are."
Yeah. I've never had anything wrong with me other than just being dumb. But
That's what's wrong with your book. No, wait.
Ugh.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
No, I am enjoying them. There are little glitches. There've been a couple times I had to stop and think, why the fuck did they do that?
It wasn't me
Yeah.
this time that started the cussing.
And to have 2 female characters lose appendages in the same scene, that was ridiculous.
Well, what if it was 2 men? Wouldn't that be ridiculous?
That'd be normal. Men are always getting hacked up in war.
Yeah. I laugh about that because I have to constantly remind myself that both of those characters are all the way through that series, and writing the final trilogy, having just written it now, I'm going back and going, did I make sure that I mentioned the fact that she has a metal arm or prosthetic arm of some sort?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, at least once. Okay, good, because I forgot.
It's called
So,
continuity. You need to have
yeah,
some of
exactly.
your fans read your stuff and say, "Well, what happened to this?"
I used to have a guy that I worked with at HP who was deaf from birth, could not hear anything, and I used to chat with him. He worked in another department, and I would chat with him on like internal chat program, and he read everything I wrote, and he edited a lot of it. But his biggest asset to me was that he was a proofreader, so he was always going through and looking for stuff like that I would mess up. But it was interesting because if I ever made any reference to sound things, he didn't have a frame of reference for that. So he was like, I don't know if you misspelled this word or whether your intention was different here, or can you explain this to me or whatever. And I was like, oh, that has something to do with hearing. So you obviously wouldn't have a frame of reference for that. But
You worked at Hewlett
but
Packard?
he was, yeah, he
When?
was a very, very smart guy.
When did you
he
work?
Third wife worked at Digital, so yeah.
Oh, I worked there at the Boise office about 6 years ago now, 5 years ago.
No, because I
But-
worked for Hewlett Packard Enterprise Services in El Paso for 4 years. 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge company, and they tried to get rid of me many, many times, but I had too many managers that liked me. And then finally they left, and then they sort of, yeah, we can finally get rid of that jerk. So they did right during COVID. So
Well, I
good
will
timing.
point out that I did have a 2-year stint with Eternal Press and later with Damnation Books when
Oh,
Damnation Books bought Eternal Press.
nice.
As well, I started out as administrative editor, which is doing all the shit work for the senior editor, and then she quit and they made me senior editor, and I was doing some editing when we ran out of available editors for books that had to get out, and I did an awful lot of proofreading of books. Um, so yes, it gave me the one funny thing to say that when Damnation Books bought Eternal Press, I could tell people I worked for Eternal Damnation.
That's better than Random Penguin or whatever.
I've seen some random penguins in my day. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so
the lady that owned Damnation Books was batshit crazy, and I stayed there for another year before I finally couldn't take it. She was telling people how to write. She was
oh,
telling people they could not start a sentence with "and."
so
Um,
old school.
well, if
Because I
she
learned
was
that in
a
school.
popular author and was making tons of money, that'd be a different thing. She'd be speaking from experience. But her books didn't sell any better than anyone else's.
Yeah.
And she would have flat out rejected anything written by Mark Twain. She did not believe when with Eternal Press we had authors all over the world, we had editors all over the world, and we let our authors write in their own voice and with whatever spelling was popular in their own dialect. Like if someone's an Australian, then they get to use Australian words and phrases, and we didn't correct the differences just because we were publishing in America. And then when Kim took over, it was like everybody had to write in American English. It has to be perfect, and uh, you can't start uh, you can't start sentences with "and," uh, blah blah blah. You can't do this. You can't do that. And we were losing authors. The ones we were keeping were so bad it was incredible. But the first book I edited was the worst book I ever read in my life. And I kept telling this person, okay, you totally lost the focus here. This was supposed to happen and it didn't happen. And your reason for it not happening is so specious that you've got to do something else. So she rewrote it, but she wrote it worse.
Yeah.
She had a really weird science fiction book where it was post-apocalypse U.S. where we're broken up into nation states, and she was in Pittsburgh, and they still had telephones, but they only worked between the major cities or something like that, and it was all landline too, totally. I'm going, how is this science fiction? How is this future? They would have something else by that, and so like this one lady's husband, who was the queen of what the Pittsburgh area, her husband infiltrated a local kingdom that was becoming an enemy, and all he's doing is worrying about whether she's sleeping with the general. And it's like, but he's missing his wife and his kid, and all this, and it's all about his wife and his kid. But he gets on the phone, and all he can ask about is she sleeping with the general, not are you okay? And I no. If you really want to read the worst book I've ever seen in my life, it's called Why My Love, and the author is Laura Hogg, Hogg. And amazingly, she has published other books. And she said I was a fantastic editor, but I couldn't get her to change anything the way that I was telling would make more sense.
I always listen to my editors when they say change things, and the only time I put up a fight about it is if I think that it's it will be justified later or something like that. Usually, I defer to whatever they suggest. I'm pretty easygoing with that stuff because I'm not. I don't like to edit and I don't like grammar. So I just want to tell a story and
Shame
then
on
come
you.
back.
Your grammar will take you to task over that one.
Exactly. But I do realize that it has to make sense. It has to be literate.
Yeah.
So I try best I can, but it can definitely improve, especially I think that's one of the things I learned when I wrote my mystery book because I kind of was tutored by another mystery writer here that was in our writing group, and she read my stuff and she said you need to make this. You don't need to keep describing every little thing. Just keep moving. Just don't. We get it. Your character's doing this now and doing that now. She would cut down a lot of the cars going from one place to another and things like that. What they call in film the car travel scenes where you see the car going, oh, we have to get from here to here, and it's like you don't need that shit. Just get there. Just show up. And so I learned a lot with that one. Yeah. So maybe that's why I have a fondness for writing that stuff because you don't have to think as much about it when you set stories in current day, and you don't have to rely on weird technology that you have to explain or that doesn't exist. It's just standard stuff. Now I do a fair bit of research because it's it's tech mystery, so there's computer stuff in it, and it's all computer based and
Yeah.
programming and things. And so, but a lot of that I've dealt with or have done in the past. So, and I know somebody that does it who can answer my technical question about something. Is this possible? Oh, no, that's impossible, or whatever. So, anyway, I just think it's more fun.
Yeah. Well, not everyone can be J.R.R. Tolkien.
Exactly. But my fiction, you've probably noticed this, but my fiction doesn't. I don't get overly descriptive about things. I mean, just enough to set the mood or set the image a little bit. There is some
Every
imagery in my
now and
writing.
again, I think a couple times there has been a colloquialism that is U.S. 20th century colloquialism, and it didn't
Yeah,
seem to fit in the book. But those are
yeah,
minor.
yeah. It's sometimes, and you have to. There's always a fine line with that when you're writing because you think, oh yeah, this is in the future. They're not going to say, you know, some of the expressions that we say today. But at the same time, the people that are reading it today do use those expressions. So if you use them, they're not gonna flinch as much unless they're thinking like you, which I admit I do too. Like, it's like I kind of refer back to it kind of like Star Wars. At least the early stuff. You never saw any of the first trilogy, the original trilogy characters mention anything that was at all like Earth. Whereas in Star Trek, because it is a future from Earth, they're always quoting Shakespeare and crap like that, right? And you're okay with it. But if
Yeah,
somebody in Star
it's
Wars,
bad when the Klingons are quoting Shakespeare.
when the well, not really, because it's like cultural
Yeah,
appropriation, right? I mean,
you should read it in the original Klingon.
well, see, that's just being. I read that as being somebody being facetious, right? It's like, oh, our Klingon
Oh, that's fun.
writers are just as good as you guys, and we did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But you never see that in Star Wars because it's a fairy tale in some other universe, right? So
Yeah, they don't talk too much about literature in Star Wars. Well, they did
no,
in
I
Star
just
Trek.
had a leg cramp, so I've been sitting here long enough.
But, with Star Trek, if they're using colloquialisms, it's because they have a universal translator and it's translating it into something we can understand,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yep. So
which is the idea that you should have with writing. So if you use colloquialisms, realize that, 1,000 years in the future, they didn't use that colloquialism, but that's the closest translation you're going to get that you'll be able to
understand.
envision.
Hey,
Yeah.
Chen, this is my desktop setup.
Oh wow.
I got an M700 Tiny standing on its side.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a Focusrite Solo down here.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my Wavelink up here that holds my external drives. Also can burn any SD card or USB.
Mm-hmm.
There's two 3.0 USBs here. There's a couple more up here and a charging couple somewhere. Anyhow, this is you can't even find this box anymore. Even on their website, you can't find it. They make a lot of ones that are good for cloning drives, and this is also good for cloning drives, but that's not all it does.
Does it use a tape thing? Is it a tape drive kind of thing, or is it something?
No,
It's just a hard drive.
It's got two slots that can hold either a SATA hard drive or a SATA SSD,
Okay.
and you can copy to and from. You can clone to and from. In my case, I just use them as external drives. I've got all my saved distros on one drive, and I've got all my other backup stuff on the other drive. But it's good for using it to burn sticks and everything else, and SD cards and micro SD cards. And it's just a cool little thing. What is it? Wavelink is the brand. The model, if I can get it to not pull out here.
You advocate not pulling out?
WL-ST336A. You can find ST334s, you can find ST338s, but you can't find ST336s. And this is the best box that Wavelink ever made.
Cool.
And Dale bought me the Wavelink box, and Bill bought me the sound box. I bought the M700 Tiny myself, but it was only $150. Let's see, this microphone, the Q2U, was paid for by Full Circle Magazine. The boom arm I bought myself, but it was only $15.99. Oh, and my USB, I've got a powered USB port that I can turn off each individual port.
Yeah, I got something like that.
That's there.
Cool.
So I have been very much helped from the time I got on mintCast. My life has improved, and it's interesting to think that. Oh well, I lost my train of thought, so it must not be that interesting. Before coming to mintCast, most groups I got involved with, I somehow or other found myself a pariah. Since I've gotten into podcasting, it's like all of a sudden everybody loves me, and I just can't get used to that. I have left mintCast twice, and they keep begging me to come back. I don't think I add that much to the show, but if they like to see me, then
And we'll keep asking you to come back. And we keep asking Tony to come back.
Well, Joe is the only person here that's been on more shows than I, but we started at the same time. I just took a couple sabbaticals.
Yeah.
Well, the only person still on the show that has done more shows than me. We won't talk about Rob Hawkins and his 245 shows.
Right, I'm never going to catch up to that guy.
Well, I'm piecing together stuff, so I don't know if I'm going to commit to doing a podcast just on my own, but I don't know. I just don't have time. I'm still so busy. I can't wait to retire.
Just radio. HPR, hackerpublicradio.org. They get shows from everybody. They don't have enough shows. It can be 5 minutes. It can be 2 hours, whatever you want.
I remember those guys.
And I've done a couple shows for them. They actually interviewed me. That should come out soon. That'll be exciting. They had to interview me twice because he asked me to sing something, and the first thing that came to mind, I couldn't prove the licensing for. Everything they do has to be CC BY SA 4. And
Mhm.
all my songs are CC BY SA4, but most other people's songs aren't. So we had
Yeah.
to redo the whole thing, and I got to sing one of my own songs instead.
I haven't been touching my guitar much lately because I injured my fretting fingers.
Mm.
It, I can't bend it all the way. Ooh, it's closer now. I used to not be able to get that far. I used to be like to here.
Well, that
The
playing
tendon.
guitar should be good physical therapy for that.
The problem is playing the guitar is what caused it.
Ah,
I played it
okay.
too much and I'm too old. So it
Hey,
rebelled.
you're too what?
Apparently, I mean, well, how else do you explain it? Either that or I got really bad fingers and never knew it until I
Well,
started
I'm
playing
starting
guitar.
to get arthritis in my finger joints, but that doesn't stop me from playing guitar.
I mean, this finger will like lock up on me. It'll just snap, I'm like, ugh.
Well, what style do you play? If you're talking about that finger, do you do a lot of bar chords?
No, I don't
Oh,
do
okay.
any. And
Okay.
I'm just doing cowboy chords at the top of the neck. And I haven't even
Ah,
gotten to the point where I can go down the neck yet. So, because it's too painful. I mean, I played last night for like, I swear, less than 10 minutes, a couple of songs. And then I got distracted because my son came home and was talking to me. But um, I had to wash some vans this morning. And, once again, you're doing this, right? And I'm like,
let me tell you
I'm just a
something
wuss.
something that has worked for me and a few of my friends, including my wife, lidocaine cream.
Oh, write that down.
And it's over the counter and it's cheap. You can get it a little stronger from your doctor. They
Actually,
frequently just have free samples of it.
I have
If
an
you,
arthritis cream as well. It's not the lidocaine. You can buy it. I've gotten it prescription, and I've also gotten it from Walmart. It's basically just their arthritis cream. I can't remember the name of it
well,
or the active
the
ingredient.
Asper cream has
Not the
moved
Asper
over.
cream.
Yeah, well, Asper cream was using a salicylate, which they still do make, but they don't make it for Asper cream anymore. They've moved over to what that newer one is, the COX-2 inhibitor thingy that comes out in the cream. Yeah, starts with a V in the name brand. Anyhow,
Voltaren is,
Voltaren, yes.
yeah, that's
Well, the Asper cream is
trolamine.
now the same as Voltaren.
Trolamine salicylate.
Trolamine salicylate is the old Asper cream, and the Walmart still makes their brand, and it works pretty well.
Yeah.
But it's just a salicylate. It's basically a relative to aspirin, but the lidocaine is a different thing. And I've known a lot of people with joint pain, or like they have scar pain from knee surgery, and it really helps with that.
Yeah, I get arthritis in my wrist because I fractured it when I was a kid on a skateboard. So sometimes that acts up with the weather or whatnot. But I don't think this is arthritis. I think it's basically a tendon. I think I just screwed up my tendon and I have to wait for it to heal. So it's taking a long time, which it does for tendons.
Well, you might have it checked out. I don't know.
I should. I really should. I think my physician is having a baby, so you may not be able to see her.
The Voltaren is also supposed to be good for tendonitis. So
Cool.
Well,
it
I
might be
haven't
something
found
to try.
Voltaren to do anything for me, and the trolamine salicylate doesn't do very much for me. But the lidocaine, with regular use, it gets really good.
Look, like with Tiger Balm, you put Tiger Balm on and you can feel that kind of kicking in. With the Voltaren, what I've noticed is I will put it on, and at first I'm going to say, this ain't doing anything. This ain't doing shit. And then 10 minutes later, I'll be walking around or something because it's my hip. It's my hip where I have arthritis. So, and then I'll stop and I'll think about it. It's like, wow, that doesn't hurt as much. And then I'll, continue on.
Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to take off. You guys can keep streaming if you want to. Did anyone join us on YouTube?
Yeah, we had a couple of people, or one person message us, Marco Sejic, and that was it. There's 2 watching now, but I'm pretty sure I'm one of them. So
Okay, I need to get going too.
yeah, I'm gonna
Okay,
kill the
good
stream.
talking to you, Ken.
Yeah, it's great talking with both of you. It's been fun.
So you need to come back in a couple more weeks if you're going to be on the show after this.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. See you soon.
You guys take care. Peace out.